And then everyone just buckle in for however long the rest of this takes. One, I could give like a whole thesis on Philippa Gregory and historical fiction
I feel
in
like
like
you should.
I
I
probably
would
should at this
maybe
point.
become a professor and I'll just like come to your class.
An adjunct professor, I totally
Yeah.
could on like the York Plantagenet
Yes.
tutor.
You would be so good.
I
But
like
I'm
would
looking forward to this part because I absolutely love historical fiction and specifically this like the stories that Philippa Gregory does. So
but
very excited.
you've never read like any of her books, have you?
I've only read The Other Boleyn Girl.
You and like the entire world. I like
Exactly.
honestly like don't even count that anymore.
I
Like if
don't
that's the
either.
only yeah.
I don't even like think of that as like the books. I just know it was I think I probably read it around the time the movie came out. So,
Again, like you and everyone else.
yeah,
Okay, well,
exactly.
strap in, everyone. So obviously, I had to start with just like general vibes. And of course, we're in very like Tudor historic England. So naturally, the first general vibe is Earl Grey, a
And we
classic
get an
regal
Earl
Tory.
Grey.
Yeah, had to be mentioned. We're just
Yeah.
getting it out of the way. As we've been beating over the head, there's bergamot in there with refined citrus notes. Perfect for immersing yourself in the royal courts of England. It has that sophisticated touch that suits the intrigue and power struggles. But then, more fitting, I think, because I feel like this is where I would fit in, is the Lady Grey tea, a
Ooh.
slightly lighter, more floral version of Earl Grey, making it ideal for the courtly romance and drama in Gregory's books.
I didn't even know there was a Lady Grey tea.
I didn't either until this, and I feel like I could give this a whirl and
Yeah, that sounds so good. Like having that
and
little bit of like a floral hint to it.
And I have long said if I ever was somehow, like, plummeted back in time to, like, this era, I would for sure be one of the court ladies just, like, gossiping
Oh, you
left,
for
right, and
sure
center.
would. I would be pouring on the streets, but like you for sure. Or like I could be one of your ladies taking care of you. That's my past. Just
My lady's maid.
yes.
Um, and then I did think this one was an interesting spin, the raspberry leaf tea, historically associated with women's health, this herbal tea feels right at home with stories about powerful queens navigating love, childbirth, and politics.
That's another really good fit. I like that.
Yes, because there I mean, in that era, just in general, like, all of that was so, um, just, like, challenging. One, there was
Childbirth? Are you kidding me? It's
yeah, it was,
like
like, the insane lack of medical knowledge
yeah.
and facilitation alone, just
The amount of people that were still actually born kind of baffles me. Like, I don't know how that many people were born with how much they didn't know.
yeah, it was, like, crazy.
I was like, "This is dangerous. All these women are, like, dying or almost dying."
I will say on the flip side, and I'm not gonna go too into this because one, I feel like I don't know, it could be, like, true, but obviously, like, in a lot of these books, because of those times, they didn't have a lot of, like, advanced technology in medicine, there were teas that either suppressed your cycle or could help, like, rid you of things.
See, okay. You hear that all the time in, like, fantasy books where it's like, I had some tonic and also this dude has some tonic and now we're just, like, fine. So you're telling me we, like, legitimately had that in the past and we just don't have that anymore?
I don't know, that's why I was like, I don't know how much of that is rooted in truth, and I certainly was not gonna put that in my Google engine.
Don't wanna get the wrong number.
I just, like, don't need someone down the line tracking that and, like, showing up at my door anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
fair, very fair, not the
just throwing
time.
that mention out there.
Yeah.
So, on the note of Anne Boleyn, I feel like the natural starting point here for just, like, people who are less interested than me in this time period was starting with Henry VIII. Why?
I'm really glad you didn't assume everyone knows what you're talking.
Um, No, because I don't think you understand, Kaylee, in 6th grade, when I was literally 12 years old, I made a, like, scaled version of the entire Tower of London. Like, that is how deep and far back, like, my love for this whole thing goes.
I love that.
Yeah, so, a lot of styrofoam, different kinds of styrofoam, because like, the Queen's little, like, village and houses had to be, like, a different styrofoam than, like, the walls and the anyways.
I'm really
Um
glad that that tracks, like, you still are this way. The fact that you put that much detail into what was it? 6th gra
Well, it was a project, like, everyone had to do it, I just went, like, a
You
very
just
nerdy
made different
route.
walls? Like, I would've been like, "I made a wall, that was good
The
enough."
whole thing, it took up, like, the entire, like, back of the van. Like, it literally was probably, like, almost the size of my coffee table
I love
because
it.
I made the whole structure,
Do you have a
like, the
picture of this? Does your mom have a picture of this?
oh,
Like,
I'm sure Karen has, like, a hard photo somewhere, and then I had,
"Karen,
like, the
please get me
trifold
the picture. I need the picture."
and then I had the trifold, like, info thing that, like, stood with it, and then I had, like, a whole thing of index cards of all the research I did to then, like, put the yeah. So, I know a lot of lore.
I'm very proud of you. A plus work.
Yes. So, that being said, I feel like, especially now with Six the Musical, the wives are just getting a
Oh,
lot of love and attention, which,
I
like, bless
love that
them.
musical. That musical is so good. The music in it is amazing. I listen to it all the time, but yes.
So, Catherine of Aragon, who I think is so underrated. So, her book is The Constant Princess, and her tea pairing, obviously, is a Spanish orange spice tea. Catherine was Spanish born, deeply devout, and politically shrewd. She totally was. She also, fun fact, was supposed to marry Henry VIII's brother, and then he like kicked it. And so then she was stuck with Henry VIII.
Sad. I didn't
Yeah,
know that
the-
though.
Arthur was honestly like the better of the two,
Yeah.
but alas. So a Spanish orange spiced tea with bold citrus, cinnamon, and cloves reflects her strong will, resilience, and the warmth of her heritage.
Wonderful
Which
fit.
is great.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Then, of course, we have the other Boleyn girl, which is all about homegirl Anne.
Everyone knows about Anne.
Yes. So her pairing is Earl Grey with rose petals, which I do feel like is oddly fitting for her. She was captivating, ambitious, and ultimately tragic. Fair.
Sad. Yeah.
Well, she kind of did it to herself. Like,
I mean, for the times, but, like,
arguably,
also, like, you know,
a classic Earl
I
Grey
don't think that's what
symbolizes.
anyone deserves for what she did, but yes, continue.
No, she shouldn't have been beheaded, but I
But she knew it
do
would be a potential consequence, so it's not like she didn't know it could happen.
I was gonna say, she's not completely innocent. Did she
Yeah.
deserve to die? No.
Yes.
But the
Yes, as
classic
in
Earl
I
Grey
agree with you, not yes, as in she deserved
no,
to be beheaded.
you got it. Her refinement is symbolized from the Earl Grey, and adding the rose petals, for romance and fragility matches her ascent and downfall at court, which again, I think is very fair.
Very fair. Yeah.
Then you have the Boleyn inheritance, which focuses on Jane Seymour, Anne of Cleves, and Catherine Howard. So 3 teas for 3 women. Jane Seymour is a white peony tea, which is a delicate, pure white tea for Jane's demure and seemingly innocent nature. Anne of Cleves has the green jasmine tea, which is a tea that symbolizes grace and quiet strength, much like Anne's dignified survival after her annulment, because she was only one of 2 wives who survived. And then Catherine Howard is a strawberry hibiscus tea, sweet, vibrant, and slightly tart, perfect for the young, naive, and doomed 5th wife.
Doomed.
And then finally, we have the Taming of the Queen, which focuses on Catherine Parr, and her tea pairing is a chamomile and honey. Catherine Parr was intellectual, nurturing, and the survivor of them all because Henry VIII kicked it before she did. Thank God for her.
I'm so happy for her.
I like truly. Chamomile and honey tea, soothing yet quietly strong, reflects her wisdom and ability to navigate a dangerous court. So That is kind of like what I call the Henry VIII series. I think it technically has a different name, but again, it's kind of like each wife, with the exception of the Boleyn inheritance, gets like a book,
Yeah.
and the whole thing tells like that whole time. My favorite series is The War of the Roses, which I think technically is called the Plantagenets and Tudors. But it's pre-Henry VIII and really focuses on how the Plantagenets like lost their hold and the Tudors basically came like up and coming, and then like all of that strife and like tumult. So the first book, almost like a prequel. Like you technically could just skip this one, but I love Jacquetta so much. So The Lady of the Rivers focuses on Jacquetta of Luxembourg, who is like such an icon. And she is paired with white jasmine tea, and I put a fucking course in parentheses. Which, like, if you ever read this book, even just seeing her in the other books, you would agree. So, a story steeped in mysticism, ambition, and the early Wars of the Roses calls for an elegant floral white jasmine tea. It reflects Jacquetta's connection to her supposed mystical ancestry and her quiet strength, which is true. She always has this air of like, is there kind of something like mystic and magical happening, or does she somehow just have like wildly good luck?
Huh.
You'll never know.
I have a feeling I would really like this series. But continue.
It's so good. So good. So then the second book focuses on her daughter, Elizabeth Woodville. And it's the White Queen.
Okay.
And her tea pairing is a silver needle tea with lavender. Elizabeth Woodville, the White Queen, is associated with mystery, beauty, and ambition. Silver needle white tea, one of the most prized teas, represents her royal ambition, while lavender hints at her rumored sorcery.
Another one I never heard of, Silver Needle.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds like really luxury though.
It sounds luxury and also kind of like painful.
I don't think that sounds any worse than the gunmetal green
Oh no,
tea.
that one I felt the same way, but I was like, whatever. Who names these things?
So then you have the Red Queen, which focuses on Margaret Beaufort, who is my spiritual nemesis. I hate her so much. And her tea is an English breakfast tea, which tracks because it's so bleh, and so is she.
I was just gonna say, you can't see it on here, but after her name, she literally put ew. Which, if you have a class, this needs to just be on there. This is her. Ew.
Just a little bit. Just adds it. That's where I would be such a bad teacher because sometimes like this, I would just like
No, but
full bias.
in college, the teachers that I had that just put like more of their personality behind it, I remembered more. Like if you just have something like boringly told to you, if I had someone who's just like, this person I loathe with my whole entire heart, I'd be like, oh, tell me more. Like, it's not like you know them personally, but I'm like, now I'm intrigued.
Fair. Well, Margaret and I have beef to this day. So I will never forgive her for what she did.
She knows it
Anyway,
too.
he sure does from the grave. Um, anyways, her rationale for English breakfast tea is a formidable, disciplined woman like Margaret Beaufort demands a strong, no nonsense English breakfast tea. Traditional and robust, it mirrors her unwavering faith and determination to put her son, Henry VII, on the throne. But, like, here's the thing. She was so devout to her faith, and so was Catherine of Aragon, but, like, Catherine did it in, like, a nice way. Margaret would have been, like, leading the Salem witch trials despite being a woman herself, is kind of, like, the difference in vibes.
Get it? So she's not a girl's girl.
No, absolutely the fuck not. Nope. So then in the series and, like, this series is really cool because with the exception of, like, The Lady of the Rivers and The White Queen are, like, sequentially happening, and then the Red Queen happens, but, like, the Red Queen, the Kingmaker's Daughter, the White Princess, and the King's Curse all actually kind of take place at the same time or, like, a little bit of overlap, and then it's just the
Okay.
different perspectives of, like,
Who
these
they're
women.
focusing on. Yeah.
So it is very interesting because there are, like, parallels and, like, same events that happen in both, but then because, like, they have different marriages or they're in, like, different families, like, there's just, like, different background and, like, things that you pick up on in each book where you're, like, connecting back to the other books, like, "Oh my gosh," like, it was just so well done that way, like, it was so good, like, I loved that she did that so much. So, the Kingmaker's daughter is focused on Anne Neville, and her dad is Warwick the Kingmaker, so he's kind of, like, behind a lot of, like, people on this throne and a lot of the, like, politics and power and, like, putting people in power, so, like, from her perspective was, like, so fascinating. So, her tea pairing is the Darjeeling First Flush. Anne Neville was
Darjeeling.
I know, Darjeeling. Anne Neville was raised by the powerful Warwick the Kingmaker and is caught between ambition and survival. Darjeeling First Flush, known as the Champagne of Teas, is
Ooh,
delicate. I know, I saw that and I was like, okay, well, obviously I have to go like hunt this down. It's delicate yet complex, which is perfect for Anne's journey from pawn to queen.
I really like that.
Yeah. And then a slight nemesis, because she's like really a bitch to her mom. The White
Oh,
Princess focuses on Elizabeth of York. And, I mean, I will say she was basically raised in the Tower of London, so I don't, like, completely blame her, but, like so I was like, "Girl, you know loyalty to your family, like, the fuck?" So,
it was a rough
the tea pairing
time. You couldn't trust anybody, you know? You only
I
had
know.
yourself, I guess.
Literally, she, like, threw her family under the bus.
Oh,
But she, like, didn't really have it good either because they, like, forced her to marry Henry VII to bridge the York and Tudor lines to be like, "We're united," but, like, the
right.
Tudors, like, lead the way. And then she birthed Henry VIII, but whatever.
Gross.
Yeah. But,
Yeah,
like
already we don't like this.
no, but, like, she and Henry VII didn't like each other either, like, it just like, it was a lose-lose situation all around, but it's, like, her attitude towards her mom that always really, like, irked me.
Yeah.
So the White Princess, Elizabeth of York, her tea is rosehip and hibiscus tea. Elizabeth of York, as I said, caught between Tudor and York loyalties, needs a rosehip and hibiscus tea. The tartness of hibiscus represents the struggles of her marriage to Henry VII, while the rosehip symbolizes her enduring royal bloodline.
It's a good pairing. Yeah,
Yeah, it is a very elegant style.
yeah.
And then lastly, just rounding out the sponge, is the King's Curse, which focuses on Margaret Pole. And her tea is oolong tea with ginseng. And
Ooh,
Margaret Pole's story is one of resilience and survival under the Tudors because she was married to one of the York brothers. So, like,
okay.
yeah, not quite welcome.
Yeah.
Um, Oolong tea with ginseng is a tea known for its stamina boosting qualities, which reflects her endurance in a dangerous political landscape.
I love it. Let's start the class right now. We can even do tea pairings with it. It'll be wonderful. You each day you could have like a tea pairing for your class. You bring it into them and then you talk about
Okay.
that particular book or the
I mean,
history
I feel like I
you want.
just gave like a 20-minute lecture on this and
You
I didn't
did.
even like scratch the surface.
Right. You'd have an hour per story.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, won't do that now.